is The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. Repent, renew, reclaim. And now your host, Allison Jordan.
Hi, Brain Jobs! Good evening, good evening, good evening. Do I have lipstick on my teeth? Okay, good evening. Hey, Brain Jobs, and welcome to another episode of The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. This is episode 216. Go back and forth with my producers because we've done so many shows that we can't keep track of how many. But this is episode 216. This is The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on the Brain Truth Radio, an iHeart Radio station. Find us on YouTube, and we need more subscribers. I think in like the last 4 weeks, we got over 1,000 subscribers. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Allison Jordan, The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. See, we got 1.06 thousand. I can start monetizing, right, Chris? Right, Kim? Right, gang? Brain gang? Okay. Or you can definitely see us live on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podbean, Google Podcasts, TuneIt, Player FM, Amazon Music, Listen Notes, and anywhere you can listen to your podcasts. And of course, right here at The Brain Truth, www.thebraintruth.com, live every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard. And guess what? You can also catch me every Sunday from noon until 4 p.m. And that's Central Standard on the AC Green Show on 106.3 FM, Chicago's R&B, and on Inspiration 1390 at 120 Central Standard every Tuesday. Okay. And speaking of me and AC, we have this really cool initiative called Your Health Matters. It is just an amazing opportunity for some young people or people want to change their career. We have an accelerated program. It's a 6-week phlebotomy class for only $600. That's like $100 a week. That's like, what did I do? I'm not good at math. Okay, $20 a day. And it's like $10 an hour. Okay, so call 888-407-1101. That's 888-407-1101. Also, guys, remember we are an Amazon affiliate. That means every time you spend money with us and our partnership with Amazon.com, proceeds go towards keeping this podcast going. Okay. Now let's get to traffic control. What is traffic control? All right. Traffic control is that opportunity for us at the top of every hour. Remember, every hour you're going to put in your phone at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, traffic control. And that's our opportunity to sort of stop, take a deep breath, right? Rethink what we're about to do, and then slow it down and reapproach it differently. Like take a deep breath. See, we can change the trajectory of what we was trying to do. We was going to try to get into it with somebody. You can stop at traffic control. So remember, at the top of the hour, no matter what we're doing, I'm in the middle of interviewing. My producer is going to put up traffic control, and we're all just going to stop and take a deep breath because that's just what we do here at The Brain Truth. Okay. Now, I want you to remember, we say a lot of important stuff every week. So remember to get your pen and get your paper, because I don't want you to miss anything or screenshot the stuff because it's loaded with information and we don't want you to miss anything. Okay, so let's start with our breaking news today. Okay, this is about ladies, the lock-in, and liquor. Okay, the COVID pandemic in the United States brought unimaginable pain, fear, and frustration. And like many of us, we turned to alcohol to cope. The pandemic also blurred the boundaries between home and work for many women. This was largely because us women were used to having their kids go off happily to school and having an experienced teacher teach our children while we go to work and focus on performing well and providing financial support to our family. The lock-in had these work roles conflicting with parenting roles, creating literal and mental difficulty in doing both things well. Can anybody relate? Am I speaking to the, can the people in the back agree with me? Gillian T is a biochemist and a host of the Sober Powered podcast, who is recovering from alcoholism, coined this time that we spent in the pandemic together, the mommy juice culture. She says alcohol use became more normalized during the pandemic as a way for women to avoid anxiety, stress, or cope with bad marriages rather than for positive reasons, such as socializing with friends, which we were pretty much used to, and drinking during dinner dates or after work meeting happy hours, right? We also were able to drink during that time, remember, during Zoom meetings out of our coffee mugs. I know I'm not the only one, I don't think, but we did it. We did it. She noted that one television commercial depicted a mother hiding in a bathroom, opening a secret mini fridge to sip juice and champagne. That normalizing secret drinking as a way to cope with motherhood related stress during the pandemic might make women less able to realize that they have a problem with alcohol and to get the help needed. Therefore, it is not surprising that we are seeing a disproportionate effect of the pandemic on women's alcohol use. What does that look like? Heavy drinking by women increased by 58% during the pandemic. 58%, y'all, versus 16% in men. And because women, like you and me, talking to my Brangels who are females, metabolize alcohol differently than men, we are more susceptible to the negative physical consequences of alcohol, including liver disease, heart disease, and cognitive impairment. It's also estimated that 1/3 of breast cancer cases could be prevented if women did not drink alcohol, were physically active, and maintain healthy weight. Did you hear me? Should I repeat that? Women also have twice the risk of men for depression and anxiety, and heavy alcohol use exacerbates depression, anxiety, and insomnia. And I know that as a person living with depression and anxiety, I really know that when I drink wine, it's a wrap. So to close this out, please note, we also help contribute during this pandemic, all of us, just not the women, but all of us, to the $41.9 billion, $41.9 billion in liquor store sales during the pandemic. We just made all the liquor stores really rich, and I'm still trying to get sponsorship to tell y'all we made liquor stores really rich. Give me some of that money. Bring some of that money this way. To find out why women face higher risk and more support and resources, visit www.niaaa.nih.gov. That's the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And then also www.rosecrans.org. For more than 100 years, Rosecrans has delivered comprehensive, individualized treatment for substance abuse and mental health disorders through residential treatments and outpatient programs. And we are pleased to have their community relations coordinator on the show today. So there you have it. That's the brain buzz. Let's get to our sponsors. Of course, during this podcast, I was going to say pandemic, y'all. During this podcast, it takes a lot. Well, it takes money. And I'm about to run out of my own money because I need some sponsorship. We work hard over here trying to deliver this information to you guys, Brangels. However, we are thankful for the sponsors that we do have, which are NAMI South Suburbs, where you guys know that I am a board member. And speaking of them, I want to talk about what's coming up. We have the Hot Dog for a Hug fundraiser. So as you know, next month is Mental Health Awareness, and we are doing this fun little event in Bremen Township at the complex over there in Oak Forest. And you can donate $5, just $5, and that will supply one hot dog to some of the many kids that we will have in attendance that are coming from behavioral health centers and those individuals living with mental illness. So please donate a hot dog to a kid. And we also remember every year, I think this is our 3rd annual Burgers for Blankets. That is one of the fundraisers that I chair. And for every blanket you donate, you get a free burger. So we have participating restaurants and fast food places that are you're going to be able to redeem that burger. But again, if you want to donate to any of these things, you want to spend $100 and sponsor a few burgers, go right ahead. Or you want to donate some blankets, go to our email, which is NAMI-South-Suburbs-of-Chicago@gmail.com. Screenshot this, write down the note. All right, everybody. And we also take Cash App. Hello, that's Cash App $, the Brain Truth. That's Cash App $, the Brain Truth. I take Cash App. Okay, let's get to the brain bit. Okay, as you know, the brain bit, because of course, Laughter is medicine for the soul. So we've got a brain bit today. This is coming from Steven. He is 12 years old and he's from Houston, Texas. Again, I do not be writing these brain bits. So laugh for these people. They watching. Okay. Okay. Why can't a brain be 12 inches long? Do, 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 do. Why can't the brain be 12 inches long? You don't know? Because then it would be a foot. Do you get that? Whatever. That was all late. Anyway, if you guys want to send in a brain bit, reach us on Instagram and on Facebook at The Brain Truth. Okay? All right. Now, the brain spotlight. Okay, the brain rain spotlight. Tonight we don't have a brain rain spotlight, but I do want to talk about the brain rain spotlight. And that is an opportunity if you know how to make your brain rain, meaning if you have turned some of your negative into positive, or if you started a business, you have a product that you want to share, please reach out to us at thebraintruth.com. That's thebraintruth.com. And I also forgot to tell you, that's also where you can also sponsor and get all the information. It's a one-stop shop so that you can be our next guest in the Brain Rain Spotlight. All right. Let's get to our show disclaimer because we have a really cool show today and I want to get to it. Okay. The Brain Truth does not serve the purpose of providing medical treatment or therapy services, diagnosis, prevention, or cure for any physical, mental, or emotional issue, disease, or condition. As a member of our audience, you agree that the Brain Truth does not assume liability for any physical, mental, disease, condition, or issue, or any other type of loss or damage due to any information shared on our broadcast. All right. So, as you know, we're closing out this month, but we can't close it out unless we recognize Alcohol Awareness Month. Okay. And so, you know what, Chris? The brain buzz for today is what is alcohol? And it went with the earlier, the ladies locking in liquor. But what is alcohol? Let's talk about what is alcohol before we get into the whole, conversation when I bring my guest on. But okay, for those who may not know, which I really didn't know, but alcohol, okay, the main psychoactive ingredient in alcoholic beverages is ethanol. Don't that sound scary? Ethanol. That's like, isn't that the stuff you rub on stuff to get stuff off of stuff? I don't know. It just sounds real scary. Dr. Geddes could tell me exactly, like, I dug deep in it, but I really, really want to know, like, what does ethanol? She's going to talk about the effects on the brain and all that other stuff. But generally referred to as alcohol, ethanol is a substance that makes you drunk. And it can have powerful effects on your mental state. That's the ethanol. It is produced by yeast that digests sugar in certain carb-rich foods, such as grapes used to make wine or grains used to make beer. Alcohol is one of the most popular psychoactive substances in the world. It can have powerful effects on your mood. And again, I said mental state. By reducing self-consciousness and shyness, alcohol may encourage people, and I've seen this, and we've all had that friend, to act without inhibition. That means y'all don't care what y'all doing. That means y'all out there acting a fool. That means y'all need to sit yourself down and stop drinking. At the same time, it impairs judgment and promotes behavior people may end up regretting. And I remember back when I lived in Hollywood with a lot of my Hollywood friends, they woke up a lot of times regretting. I think recently somebody slapped somebody and I'm sure he regretted it too. And who knows, there's alcohol involved in everything in Hollywood. I work there. I know. So some people who drink small amounts at a time while others tend to binge drink. But binge drinking involves drinking large amounts at a time just to get drunk. Typically, it takes 1 hour, people, for your body to metabolize a drink. But the intoxicant effect starts within 30 to 35 minutes. So y'all wait and see what you're feeling like. You can use the gauge to pace yourself. Drinking more than a glass every 30 minutes means you're drinking too fast. So remember that. Drinking a glass every 30 minutes, meaning slow down. How about just drink one drink, okay? And then go home in an hour. We're not judging, though. This show is about alcohol awareness, no judgment zone. We're just giving you some facts. Do with it what you will, okay? In the United States, one standard drink, which is one alcoholic drink equivalent, contains roughly 14 grams of pure alcohol, which is found in 12 ounces of regular beer, which is usually about 5% alcohol. 5 ounces of wine, which is typically about 12% alcohol. Okay, so wine, we all got wine, 12% alcohol, right? In the wine. This is my wine. I don't want to, they not chart, I'm not getting no sponsorships. I don't want to do too much. And then vodka, I got some vodka and gin. And I've had this for years, so don't look at me like I've had this on my bar. I don't drink gin, but I keep it on my bar. I have gin. And then everybody, I don't know, somebody left this like 2 years in my house. Everybody drinks this famous brand, right? This is Tito's, right? That's 40% liquor, 40% and gin, vodka. And then I also have the famous whiskey. And I got some single malt scotch over here. Okay. But listen to this. You can also get drunk drinking champagne. So people would be like, oh, I just have a glass of champagne. I don't drink liquor. You can get drunk by drinking a glass of champagne, 11 to 13% alcohol by volume, which means a standard servings of champagne, you can actually get drunk. So even wine. So I'm just telling y'all what I just, what they gave me. Okay. Now, remember, everybody start taking these fireballs. Like I know people that just start drinking fireballs because it tastes sweet like sugar. And they be like, give me 3, give me fireball, give me fireballs. Fireball has 33% and can get you drunk really fast. And it only takes an hour. So when you all are doing all these shots of fireballs, y'all need to slow your roll. And here's the thing. Rum and vodka are the strongest of all the alcohol. So it's like, I have a rum and coke, so we're just telling you the facts. So when you think about what you're drinking, just do it responsibly. Know that your body is metabolizing it, women, at a faster rate than men. So if you're out there and guys are telling you to do more shots and do it, don't try to keep up with your boyfriend and your male friends. Okay. Think smarter. Our bodies are not the same, right? So I'm just giving that to you. And that's what I want to say. So with that being said, I want to bring on my guest. My first guest that I want to bring on, her name is Brittany. And I heard she's so sweet. From some of my producers, and I just can't wait to come in here and have this conversation. But Brittany is duly diagnosed with mental illness, as well as a drug and alcohol abuse. She's a 29-year-old young woman who has been clean and sober, since July 14th of 2015. That's kudos to her. She loves sports, photography, and music. She grew up in the Chicagoland area, but spent 2 years in Corpus Christi, Texas. Oh, okay. I wonder how far that is from Dallas. I got family that lives in Dallas, which she loves. Her relationship with her family is something she holds near to her heart and attributes it to her support network, which is very important. She lives a full life of joy, love, and service to others. Come on in here, Brittany. Come on in here, Brittany. Hi, Brittany. Welcome to the Brain Truth.
Hi, Allison. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Corpus Christi, how far is that from Dallas?
I believe it's probably 6 to 8 hours.
Oh,
it's
girl,
far.
See, I don't know nothing about Texas. I be thinking, you know how some people say you get in the cab and they say you're from Chicago, like, oh, do you know my cousin John? I live in Chicago. Like, yeah, my cousin lives there. So that's far. So Corpus Christi, is that like closest to Houston? See, I don't know geography. I didn't do very well. Where is it near?
It's actually closer to San Antonio.
San Antonio, Texas. Okay. So you left that beautiful hot weather to come here to Chicago. What's wrong with you? Do you miss it?
There are parts of me that miss it, and there are parts of me that don't.
Okay. So tell me your story. I mean, I'm glad that you were very open about saying you were dually diagnosed, right, with mental illness. Because I'm diagnosed. I've shared it many, many times on the show. So were you diagnosed by a mental health professional and therapist or psychiatrist?
Yes, I was.
And so what can I ask you what your diagnosis is?
Through hospitalization.
Okay. I was hospitalized.
So I was diagnosed with bipolar.
Okay. And how long ago were you diagnosed? Were you young or older or?
I was 13 or 12 or 13, I believe. It was a long time ago.
And so, because, we talk a lot about being a child and having parents and people in our lives miss misdiagnosing us, writing it off as like childhood behavior or this or that. And so, who was the brilliant people that decided to take you somewhere and get you diagnosed and get you help?
That would be my mother.
Hey, mom. Where's your mom? Is your mom still around
My
with us?
my mom is upstairs.
Hey, mama. Hey, girl. Thank you, mama. Tell her thank you. Kudos. I mean, that's beautiful. And so you've been
Yes,
living with
absolutely.
bipolar most of your life. And then when did the drinking happen? And you want to tell
Mhm.
us why?
Whew. Oh, well, um, for, you know, I struggled with mental health and drug and alcohol abuse for a very long time. Probably around the same time, 12, 13, I started using drugs and alcohol. Um, and they kind of like it was like a balancing act. I would drink and it would exacerbate my mental health, and my mental health would exacerbate my alcohol and drug abuse. It was like this weird game that I would play with myself, and it was just out of control, completely unmanageable. And um, thank God for support and uh, other people out there that are kind at heart. My mom,
And
seeking
so,
help through
okay, so
NAMI,
how
which you
old were you when you had
mentioned.
your first? I'm sorry, how old were you when you had your first drink? And I believe there's a delay. So if
I
you
was
feel like I'm
13.
cutting you off or anything, it's only because I can't hear you, like you're not responding, because I think there's a delay. Okay, but how old were you when you had your first drink?
I was 13 years old.
So you were diagnosed with bipolar and you were drinking. So did the alcohol, was that a way of coping with your diagnosis, or was that an offset of, okay, so when you found out you were bipolar, you kind of were like, wow, you didn't quite understand that it could be controlled probably, or that was possible. So tell me what happened.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. My first hospitalization was very scary for me. It was
Okay.
to the psych ward, and I felt alone. I felt
Mm.
abandoned. I didn't understand. I was a little girl. I didn't understand why my parents had sent me away to this strange place with these strange people.
And how long were you hospitalized for?
Probably a week and a half to 2 weeks, my first time in the hospital.
So how many times have you been hospitalized in your lifetime?
Psychiatrically, I've been hospitalized a handful of times.
Handful.
Hmm.
Okay.
About
And
five.
And so when you were there and the traumatic experience happened, you went home and then you started drinking. Was that because you had anger towards your parents, or you were like, how dare you kind of thing? Or because once you're
I
out, you should have then started the road of like therapy. So you were just holding on to that resentment, or what? How did that manifest?
Well, resentment is a huge part of my story with that, but
Mm,
to be honest, at first, my alcohol and drug abuse was revolving around masking my feelings, um,
mm,
quieting my mind with the
yes.
racing thoughts, and also just a way to escape my reality and the pain I was feeling on the inside that I didn't know how to properly express.
Yeah. I can associate that. I'm 55 and I was hospitalized, in June 2020 for 19 days.
Mm,
And I look back over my life, I was molested and some things happened as a child.
mhm.
And I kind of like, I see your story and it's very profound. And, and however, some of us are walking around here as adults who skipped over that opportunity to get that kind of counseling and to get that kind of intake. So how did the rest of your journey look like as going into a teen and adult?
Oh, goodness. A lot of ups and downs. I
Mhm.
actually managed to stay sober for about 3.5 years of my 4 years in high school. But it was very, very painful time for me. It was very confusing. It was a lot of bullying going on, not knowing where I fit in the world, not knowing what I wanted to quite do with my life, where I wanted to
Mhm.
go, what I wanted to be. And um, there were moments of mental health stability, but I always found myself going back to alcohol and drugs. And it wasn't until I had hit this bottom in my adult life when I had become stable on medication, consistently seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist,
Right.
and taking my meds the way they are prescribed, was I able to realize that, there's a piece of me that is broken and nothing can fix what's broken. That this
Mm.
is just my experience, but
Yeah.
nothing can fix what's that broken piece inside of me except for a higher power, call it what you will,
That's right.
and spiritual principles. I live by spiritual principles today, and it is a blessing. Um,
And
it
I
is.
agree.
And yeah,
I think that is key. And I think that's what we talk about here at the Brain Truth. We constantly talk about the mind, the body, and the soul. You've got to heal in totality of the three. So at your worst, how worse was it? Like at the worst with your alcoholism.
believe it or not, at my worst with my alcoholism happened in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay.
I did a lot of growing up there, but I had a lot of low points. When it comes to drug and alcohol abuse, there's like, or alcoholic or alcoholism, people think, oh, guy living under a bridge with a brown paper bag, right?
Right.
They don't realize that alcoholism does not discriminate. It doesn't
No,
matter
honey.
what race, color, creed. It does not matter who you are. It does not discriminate. And to be honest, at my lowest, I kept lowering that bar. I'll never
Mm.
drink and drive. And I drunk and drove all the time. I'll never be homeless. I'll never do this drug. I'll never do this drug this way. And the bar just kept lowering and lowering and lowering. But to be honest, it wasn't so much of the situations that were happening, and it was the way I was feeling on the inside, that hollow, empty, deep abyss of not just emotional turmoil and pain and not
Yeah.
knowing where to go. But the truth of the matter is that I needed help and I couldn't do it by myself, and I had to seek help. I had to ask for help from other people. Um,
Well, that's
you know,
extraordinary. I think Chris said you are brave, Brittany. And I agree. I agree. And I get, oh boy, I get emotional every show because people come on the show and you don't have to come here and share this, but trust me when I tell you, we have a cumulative audience of 1.3 million people, and somebody out there, you are touching their lives and you are making things. When we speak normally about our condition and we talk about our walk, Brittany,
Mhm.
I applaud you and I thank you.
well,
I
I
want to bring in Kayla, who's with a incredible treatment facility. She is the community relations coordinator. I'm going to read her bio. The reason I want to start bringing her in early and Dr. Gettings, because I really want to have this serious conversation, but fun. The topic is the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we don't want to judge anybody for drinking. I know in high school, I went to, Tiffany, asking for help is hard. Happy you stepped out of faith. Yes. Because when I was in high school, we all drank. I mean, that was just the thing. Like, how do we know who's an alcoholic is not? We're all drinking our brains out, having keg parties. I went to a predominantly white school. I think it was only 8 Black people out of 600. And so we drank. My boyfriend was, Polish, and I did everything with his family, and we drank and they drank. And we never really knew, like, are we doing it too much? It was just the culture and it was what we did. And so you drinking in high school, that was not like, I'm sure your friends were not like looking like, oh, she could have an alcoholic. You know what I mean? So, but for you to have recognized that, and for you to have those feelings and emotions connected to that journey, that's like, wow. So let me get Kayla in here. This is Kayla McGinnis. She is the community relations coordinator in North Suburban Cook County, the city of Chicago and Lake County. She earned a degree in counseling from the University of Wisconsin, is it Claire? You know, y'all know I cannot read. Y'all know that y'all supposed to teach me these things. She'll clear that up, and has over 16 years of experience in the behavioral health field in Wisconsin and Illinois. Kayla is passionate about providing resources and options for individuals and their families who are seeking treatment, recovery. Sorry for pausing for traffic control. Thank you, Chris. Kayla is passionate about providing resources and options for individuals and their families who are seeking treatment, recovery, and sobriety. Come on in here, Kayla. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Kayla.
Hello.
Welcome to the Brain Truth, Kayla.
Thank you. I'm happy
Now,
to be
you are
here.
community relations coordinator for Rosecrans. Am I correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's one of the many people that I'm hoping that we have this incredible partnership with, because Rosecrans is like the Beverly Hills of, like, you know, treatment. But I know you've been backstage and I know you've been listening, and I'm sure this story does not sound unfamiliar.
Unfortunately, no. Brittany is definitely, she's a testament to everything that we do as an organization, every day. So, I applaud you, Brittany, for sharing your story. I think, one of the things that we do at Rosecrans is we attempt to reduce the stigma, which is what you spoke to, calling people addicts, calling them junkies, making them feel worthless, hopeless, helpless is far too common,
Right.
which is why we see such a low percentage of the individuals across the United States who need treatment actually engage in treatment. It's a very, very low number. So I'm very happy to be here.
So, Brittany, this is Kayla. I know we can't speak exactly like how or what, but as far as effectiveness of treatment, and you're saying you were sober 15, did you fall off? Did you, was how effective? Because, we talk about different drugs. We did a show about opioid addiction and this and that. How hard is it to be sober? I don't know. That's the only way I can say it. How hard is that? Is that like a weird question? Because drinking to me, like, okay, like drugs. I mean, I can't find drugs. I don't know where drugs are unless I'm a drug dealer. I don't know. I got to go downtown in some alley. You know what I'm saying? But you're talking about something that's included in every dang on thing that we do. Graduation party, weddings, people going out to dinner. Your friends are not going to keep drinking, and it's just, I can't imagine how difficult that could be. And so how hard is it? For real.
To be honest, in the beginning, it was really hard. And I know that no matter where you go, like, alcohol is kind of involved in things. And for me, it was like, I'm a part of a group. It's called Maine Township Recovery Connections. It's run
What is
through
it
Maine
called?
Township.
Say it again.
Maine Township Recovery Connections. And it's a group of young people in the Maine Township area. And we get together on Friday nights and we have like this meeting, and they bring in someone like what I'm doing right now, a speaker. And we talk about recovery as a young person, and honestly, just living this life one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 minute at a time. The thought still comes to me today sometimes, like, oh, a drink would sound nice. It's a hot day, or it's a hot summer day. And to be honest, that it's a thought. It's fleeting today for me. But in the beginning, it was really hard. And I had to connect myself with people that understood, other alcoholics and addicts in recovery, and really connect on that level, reaching out. That phone, literally, when you're at your worst, weighs 500 pounds, and it's hard to pick up and ask for help. But the moment you do it, the easier and easier it gets. And just being honest, open-minded, and willing to see that this is no longer my solution. Spiritual principles are my solution today.
And I can't wait for you to talk to Dr. Ivy about the spiritual principles, because that's, my brain gang is comprised of the body, the mind, and the soul. And we're going to address that whole body, mind, soul connection. But Kayla, tell us about Rosecrans.
Yeah, so Rosecrans is a nationally recognized behavioral health care provider. So we encompass everything that is behavioral health, because a lot of people throughout the years have said substance use is one thing, mental health is another. It's like the chicken or the egg, right?
Right.
What came first? Was it my bipolar that impacted my drinking, or was it my drinking that impacted my bipolar, right?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah.
which one is the chicken or the egg? Which one is the thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about the biosocial, the biopsychosocial of a person, it really is. There's so many things. It is the chemistry of your body and your brain. It is your environment. It is the socioeconomic space that you grew up in, right?
Yes.
Some of the choices that people are put into aren't like, oh, I woke up one morning and I really thought that I wanted to have a substance use disorder today. Let me go do that. That's never the case with anybody. When we pick up that phone, we're that first line of defense. We're that call. Sometimes when Brittany says that phone weighs that much, we're getting those calls from the mom, from the individual, from the person seeking services, because they don't want to live in which, the way in which they're living anymore. And so, when we look at, I know we're talking about alcohol awareness, we found that over they've given us, a lot of different statistics, but our most common substance diagnosis is alcohol use disorder in our adult population. Now, it switches a little with the adolescents because we see a higher number of marijuana, but secondary to that tends to be alcohol, because like you said, it's everywhere. It's in the cabinet. There's a wine rack. It's in my friend's, parents' basement, things of that nature. So, we see that, and that there's a higher number with our adult population than adolescents, but nonetheless, it's one of the most commonly diagnoses that we see at Rosecrans in our adult center. So
when you heard me reading those statistics earlier with women in the pandemic, did you, I'm sure that's stuff every day off the top of your head, but was that accurate to what you're seeing?
Yeah. So, we look at it because we treat men and women, we look at it from a global perspective, but, we've seen a 25% increase from 2019 to 2020. Our data is always lagging because of, just how statistics run. But we also know that this year we've seen a 3% increase in alcohol sales.
Wow.
I do work down here in Will County, and one of the things that we noticed, the 2020 to 2021, we saw almost a 60% increase in alcohol sales in Will County alone, which is huge.
So I live in Will County.
Yeah. When we talk about women in treatment, there's a lot of data and there's a lot of statistics, in the National Institute for, there's so much information, because we know that some of the things that women face in early recovery or engaging in, I've worked at several treatment agencies, and moms would call me and say, I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom and I can only come when my kids are at school, or my husband isn't able to watch the kids. They can't come, or I can come to residential. My mom will take him for 30 days, but 30 days and I'm out and I have to get straight back to life. And there isn't that space to heal and to continue to transition and learn those skills and then utilize those skills. And so, we work really heavily on, transitioning people through all of our continuum of care levels. We have detox, we have residential, we have partial hospitalization, we have housing options, we have intensive outpatient, we have aftercare, we have continuing care, we have the ability to link them with psychiatry, medication management, individual care, so recovery, Al-Anon, alumni services, you name it. We've built these resource networks to support every individual who calls us, because Brittany, again, you're a perfect example of picking up that phone. It's not always easy. Woo. It's not always easy to be year 7 in recovery. There are days that we're going to struggle. We're not going to feel good every day. Something is bound to trigger any individual who's struggling with a substance or mental health disorder. And we need to equip ourselves and the clients with the ability to deal with those things. And so they can do that through a variety of different programs. We have multiple locations, but 60-ish programs throughout those locations. So we have something for everybody, adult and adolescent.
So Kayla, in your life, like now you work in this industry, do you now look at alcohol differently? Or, I'm just saying, like, you're out with your friends or whatever. Are they like, okay, let's come and drink one glass of, how does it affect like your life? Because this is like your life and then you have your life. I mean, I know that's great. I ask like crazy questions, but I don't care because I kind of be like, like when I go out with my friend who's a trainer, and I'm like, I want French fries. I'm gonna eat French fries. Sorry, you know what I'm saying? And he's giving me the side eye. So tell me, how does that work?
So, for me, I put on my friend hat and take off my clinician hat. But, I have had friends where I pulled them aside and said, listen, I've known you for a decade. And when you drink, it gets to that point where it's no longer just a fun time. This is happening multiple times a week. I see you with significant withdrawal symptoms. You're late to work. There's just bigger red flags and things that I know to be concerning. And I'm happy to have those conversations. I'm not one, because one thing I always tell my friends is I'm happy to lose friends over doing the right thing.
Because, girl, yeah, you're going to not be invited to the picnic, honey.
Yeah,
I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
Happy hour, don't invite Kayla.
Well, and they do, because I have friends that are cops. Like they're not friends with me because I don't, I don't always follow.
Sometimes people do feel some kind of way, but I'm glad you don't have those friends. But I'm just saying, in general, we have to look at that. Like I'm going to bring in Dr. Gettings because I know she'd be on fire, honey. But I'm glad I have a friend who's a psychiatrist, and she's always processing me no matter what. Yeah. We can just be talking about something, and next thing I know, I'm glad I have Dr. Ivy in my life, because if I call her, we can talk about anything, she's going to make me meditate and breathe. It is our responsibility to people that we care about and to pull them to the side and to help them. I was just curious of how that all works, and I'm glad that your friends are open to that.
Well, and I think it's always good. Your friend group, it's always like, oh, I know a guy, right? And so I have a girlfriend who, she was over at my house one day, and her mom called her, and her mom was in a sheer panic. And I'm like, what's happening? And she's like, my uncle needs to go to treatment. I'm like, you're in the right place. I made 2 phone calls, and her uncle was on his way to a residential bed. And her mom was so sweet. She bought me a bag of candy and a bouquet of flowers because she was just so grateful, because her family was not versed in understanding what was happening. Right. They just knew it had gotten to the point where it wasn't safe for him to be at home. The wife was beside herself because they had young children. And so we were able to just quickly get him into services. And so, I mean, that's, again, so it's not always like, they know where to come when they need support. That's right. Right. And, even when they talk about, mental health symptoms in their adolescence, hey, we're seeing this, like one girl just lost interest in dance. Is she suicidal? No, she's just a teenager. So learning to identify, but also being able to always educate, impart knowledge, because in my opinion, knowledge is power. And so I've been so blessed throughout my career to, continue to learn every day. I'm nearing 20 years in the field, and you
started when you were 7. Okay, girl.
I know, right? Thanks. To be able to say that, and the burnout rate in our field is very high, but there is such a need, and the continuation of this, especially, as we watch our own children, grow up. I worry about my kids every day. So I'm very happy to be a part of Rosecrans, their mission to support those in need. And we're happy to, be here. And then I would love to talk about continued partnerships at maybe a higher level.
Yes. Y'all listen to Rosecrans. So let's go ahead and bring in Dr. Gettings, honey, because I want to get into this whole meat of like how it affects us, what the brain is doing, why we drinking, blah, blah, blah. So come on in here, Dr. Gettings. Hey, Dr. Gettings.
Hi. How's everyone doing this evening?
Good. So this is Dr. Gettings. She's one of our brain gang. And as you guys probably don't know, I call them my brain gang. So we have our brain gang always at every show. Why? Because I'm a person living with mental illness. I'm just like you. You're not alone. And so we have our people that can speak on things to help me learn along with you. So Dr. Gettings, what you been listening to, girl, back in the back? Was I asking the right questions? Because I want to get into all the good stuff. But what you think?
I think that this is a great conversation. I want to say to Brittany, thank you for sharing your truth and your journey to wellness and helping us to improve our understanding of what battling substance abuse and addiction looks like. And I definitely want to thank Kayla as a psychiatrist, working with individuals in Illinois, I have used Rosecrans a lot as a referral resource for individuals that need substance abuse counseling and treatment. So I think this is a very important conversation. And I think the theme that I'm seeing already that I think is really important is that, like Brittany said, the alcoholic or the individual with alcohol use disorder, I should say, is not the person under the viaduct always with a paper bag. So we have to kind of change that image that we've all kind of accepted as what it means to have a problem with alcohol. And I love the story that you gave about the mom with the fridge and the bathroom, because this is something, when we look at our culture, I see more, in my opinion, of normalizing binge drinking, which we don't give enough attention to. We give a lot of attention to, okay, you're alcohol dependent. I need an eye opener in the morning. You're going through withdrawals. And if you're not at that point, then it's kind of not necessarily a big deal. Also, there's a lot of stigma, and everything with mental health kind of circles back to the stigma and the shame of, oh, you've lost self-control. Mm-hmm. Oh, you just don't know how to not self-sabotage. But when we really understand our brain chemistry and the parts of the brain, then we can have a higher level of empathy for individuals that cannot just walk away, you know. So I think that this conversation is right on time for Alcohol Awareness Month.
So tell me, what is alcohol doing to the body and the brain? I know I spoke earlier about how women, that's true, right? Metabolize it different. I just do my research. I just read a bunch of stuff. But tell me why, and tell me what's happening literally.
So first thing you talked about was the toxin ethanol. Ethanol is the toxin that we know of as alcohol. And it is a real toxin. And so when you take in alcohol, the first contact that it has with the body is in the mucosal cells of your mouth and your digestive tract. So you actually absorb some alcohol just in the mouth. You also absorb about another 20% in the stomach. I always tell patients, your mouth to your rectum is one tube. There is no there is no separation. Okay. So just think about the alcohol traveling from your mouth and then back out your body, and think about the pathways that it has to take. And that will really help you understand what it's doing to you. So once your body starts to absorb about 20% of alcohol in the stomach, that's when we get that rush where you feel that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that can happen kind of quickly. The rest of the alcohol is going to be absorbed in the small intestine, about 80%. So that's the part of the digestive tract that comes right after the stomach. And then it is all taken to our friend, the liver. Let me tell you something as a doctor. If your liver don't work, ain't nothing working. Okay. And as a psychiatry resident, I saw way too many people on the medical floor who were inpatient because of cirrhosis of the liver due to alcohol. And in this country, if you want a liver transplant and your liver failure is secondary to alcohol dependency, you have to see a mental health professional, and you have to be cleared, if you will, as someone who is not deemed to continue to abuse alcohol before you will even make the list.
Wow.
Okay.
So alcoholism is a mental illness? Is it categorized?
Alcoholism can be categorized as an addiction. When you look at the brain, our brain has what's called the mesolimbic system, which is also oftentimes referred to as our reward pathway. And so a lot of substances that we abuse trigger the release of dopamine, which is your happy neurotransmitter, if you will. It's excitatory, and it leaves you asking for more. Another substance that releases dopamine that we're familiar with that's illicit is cocaine. So if you think about every time I take this substance, it's absorbed into my bloodstream, and then it goes to be processed through the liver, and then it's going to be pumped to where my brain and all other body systems. including
Got
your
it.
heart, your kidneys, everything gets a taste of the ethanol. But when it's in your brain, think about someone who's what we would call drunk. How would we describe them? One of the first things is they can't walk, right? They stumbling, they slurring their words. So motor coordination is gone. That is the impact of alcohol on your cerebellum. Your cerebellum is the part of the brain that's responsible for coordination and your gait. Think about the fact that when you get drunk, you do stuff that you would have never done sober.
Right.
We all
I
have
know some people like that.
Okay. That's your frontal lobe, the part of, or your prefrontal cortex, this part right here. It is shut off. So things that you would never think to do, that you would normally know not to do because it's socially inappropriate, you're going to do it. I think one of the major structures that we need to be aware of, but we've all seen it, the infamous blackout. What
Yes,
happens?
I was going to ask, what's really going on in a blackout?
So in a blackout, basically the alcohol levels have reached toxic levels to the point that your neurotransmitters can no longer effectively work. One of the neurotransmitters that's highly responsible for memory formation in the hippocampus is known as glutamate. Well, alcohol suppresses glutamate. It makes it not work very well. So the last 2-3 hours of your night, you may need to call a friend to find out what exactly took place, because your brain basically achieved alcohol levels that were so toxic that these neurotransmitters that we love and these structures in our brain that we should be taking care of, they are no longer working effectively. Okay, so when you think about those major centers, the mesolimbic pathway, that's your pleasure principle, right? Also, your cerebellum, your frontal lobe.
Really? It's the pleasure principle? Like what Prince said?
Yes.
That's what that means?
That's what that means. We all
I just learned something today, years old. Are you serious? The pleasure principle. Ho, ho. Are you kidding me? Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. All right, go on.
So you just have to really understand your anatomy. The other thing that I want to say, even though, you know, the brain always gets my attention, that's my favorite organ system, but let's think about our GI system. Like, that's what's really coming into first contact. So when you abuse alcohol, you increase your risk for cancers of the oral cavity, of the digestive tract, not only just liver cirrhosis and liver cancer, which people know about, but stomach cancer, cancer of the small intestine, colon cancer, because this entire tract is absorbing the alcohol through diffusion. So what you mentioned earlier, what are the other aspects that impact how we break down alcohol? You're consuming a substance that your body can do nothing with. All it can do is break it down and hurry up and get rid of it. So if you drink fast, you are outpacing your liver's potential for breaking down the alcohol. So
y'all
now
hear that? Wait a minute, stop right there. Whoo, hala. Stop. We just all had to take a little pause on that one, because that's what people do. I know somebody, I don't want to say their name. You get to the bar and it's like you turn around and they done had already 3 drinks. I'm like, why are you going so fast? I'm trying to hurry up and get drunk.
Yes.
And then halfway through the night, they're done. We're there only like an hour and a half. You've been done 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the evening. Because here's my question, not to cut you off, because I wanted to ask Brittany, because I'm just trying to, I'm trying to learn stuff here. So excuse my questions, because I know like with other things, like people who smoke cigarettes, whatever, there's something in it that's addictive. Is there something in the alcohol that's addictive, or how it makes you feel, Brittany? Like, was it like, I gotta have this drink, I gotta drink, or I feel down and the drink makes me feel better? Or am I asking that right? Like, is there something?
The way, excuse me, the way I was taught was, the obsession of the mind. When I'm drinking, I'm thinking about the next drink. Mm-hmm. And when I'm not drinking, I'm thinking about when I can get my next drink or drug. And kind of like almost like an allergy type thing happens where I start and I can't stop. One is too many and 1,000 is never going to be enough. And And then
Wow.
obviously the spiritual sickness that I talked about as well, the spiritual malady that I have, that hole inside that I've been using drugs and alcohol to fill, and drugs and alcohol no longer fill that spiritual malady, and it stops working. And then I'm just left with this deep, dark abyss inside myself.
Yeah.
So that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
Kayla, when people come to your space, is that pretty much like, I don't really drink that much? Like, I don't know how somebody can minimize it. Like, if they show up, people call. I think that would be something that people minimize
It does.
more than anything.
They
when they
do.
arrive.
The minimization, you know, people always want to say that's a character defect. It's a symptom of the disease. What part of our human nature, and Dr. Gettings, you may touch on this, but what part of our human nature wants to say, hey, I failed. Hey, I'm out of control. Hey, I'm damaging myself and my family and my career and my school and my life to the point of no return to a degree. So I don't think there's any part of any person that says, oh, I'm really glad today that I woke up and I have alcohol use disorder. That's never the case. And, just going back a few steps, when we talk about like those long-term effects, it's severely sad when we see people come in with Wernicke's, brain damage, or people back in the day in the 80s, they just called it wet brain.
Yeah.
Because their brain was so logged with alcohol, it never had the chance to recover. And we talk about the damage to the brain, which impacts all the other things that Dr. Getting has referred to, right? Your motor skills, like all of that stuff. So you might see someone that has an impaired gait forever because of those things. Ulcers, we've seen people go into comas and die from the alcohol use and or the withdrawals. And then, even pancreatitis is another one that we see so frequently. So again, back to your initial question, I don't think there's any part of, us as humans that really want to be like, we minimize because we don't want anyone to know that it's that bad.
Right.
So Dr. Gettings, you can go on and complete, but why do people say like my grandfather drank, my mama drank? Like, how is drinking, how the heck is that inherited? Or is it behavioral, or is it something in a gene in me, or like that I'm predisposed to be an alcoholic? Like, how does that work?
Well, we do know that there are genetic predispositions to substance abuse and dependency. So basically, to make that super simple, you can take a room full of people and put them all in front of potentially addictive substances. And some people will be able to walk away with no problem, even though they had that same euphoric effect. And other people will need to go back for more again and again and again. And that goes back to our reward pathway in the brain, which is the mesolimbic pathway. And everyone's is different. There are other factors too that play a role into how damaging alcohol can be to the body. Like you mentioned, as far as women, we have less of our body is made up of water when you compare it to men, but alcohol is soluble in water, not so much so in fat. So we are not able to tolerate the same volume of alcohol, even in a man who's the same weight as us. So those are things that we need to take into account. I think for me as a psychiatrist, alcohol really scares me when it comes to individuals who are also diagnosed with underlying mood disorders, because alcohol is so disinhibiting. A person who is suicidal sober is more likely to act on those thoughts intoxicated. And I have to share the one time I saw someone come into an ER with completed suicide. He was DOA. I could smell the alcohol coming out of his pores. And I just think that for me, nothing else that I've ever read, but just seeing how ingesting that one substance can literally change your life that fast, in your life that fast. When we look at the disease burden and the mortality risks associated with alcohol, from motor vehicle accidents to suicide, homicide, etc., the other part of the brain that we miss in terms of knowing the effects is our emotional control centers, the amygdala, and how it impacts those centers. So usually however you're feeling before you start drinking is going to be exemplified or worsened during the course of the night. So if I started drinking because I was sad or started drinking because I was mad or whatever the case may be, I think we have to stop looking at alcohol as this innocuous substance that, you know, it's really not seriously impacting your health, because every drop does. And like you said, it's important for us to have a healthy relationship with anything that we're consuming. The one other thing I'll say is how your body metabolizes is really important, because everyone does not make the same level of enzymes to break alcohol down. Again, alcohol is a toxin that your body has no use for. So the moment you start to ingest it, your body's like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. So alcohol dehydrogenase is an enzyme that breaks that down, but everyone does not make that enzyme to the same extent. So that's another factor. When you look at someone and you're like, wow, okay, how did you get drunk so fast? You know,
that's me. I'm a glass wine in and I'm done. I'm sleepy, and then I can't recover for 2 days.
Yeah,
it
and
takes
so
me
that's
days and days for my.
Your body is taking a longer time to get rid of the metabolites of alcohol, which is primarily acetaldehyde is the first thing that is broken down into. That is extremely toxic. And then it's broken down into acetate, and then your body gets rid of it. But if you don't make enough of the chemical, which is alcohol dehydrogenase, to break alcohol down, then you might be 1 day, 2 days, and 2 days, and still feeling the effects of this molecule circulating in your bloodstream. And that's how we check with breathalyzers. People who drink really fast, that absorption that I told you that gets in there, your heart is pumping this blood that's filled with alcohol. It goes to your lungs too. And then the alcohol kind of evaporates through the lung cells. So when the cop puts the breathalyzer, you're breathing off the alcohol. That's another way that our body gets rid of alcohol. So from the moment it's going in, your body's trying to get it out.
Oh, if you guys want to call in, I don't know if you are. I'm sorry. I forget I do a show. I'm just sitting here learning stuff. I'm like, oh, people are calling. 708-545. I'm trying to learn too, y'all. Okay, 708-545-2446. Call in if you have a question for our guests or if you want to make a comment. Dr. Gaddis, I got another question. I'm sorry. I'm just asking all these dang on questions. Okay. So okay. Now, we're not trying to make people feel bad, like about drinking, because, you know, but my cardiologist had once said, what she say, that's how I feel when I drink. So I don't do it really anymore. You feel like me? Is that Tanisha? Like, yeah, like me? Is that what you mean? You don't do it anymore? But anyway, why did my cardiologist said that I could drink a little red wine for my heart? Like, it's good for your heart. So you're telling me that it's not? Like,
well, there are some studies that do show that different properties and different alcohol drinks offer us some health benefits. As far as red wine, I think the majority of that comes from the fact that the red grapes that wine is made from has polyphenols, which are antioxidants, but you don't have to consume wine to get those benefits. You can eat some red grapes. So alcohol.
Wait, why you say that with like, you were like, you can eat red grapes, gang, girl. Okay.
Because I do think that although people have heard about a study or two, and I know there's more, so I'm exaggerating, you know, there are some studies that show in, you know, minimal amounts or, you know, healthy usage or moderation, if you will, no more than a drink a day, and you went over what that actually
maybe the wine companies put that statement out. I don't know.
I think when you start
like Kendall Jackson, it's great to drink red wine.
Right.
That's the message by Kendall Jackson.
No. But if the alcohol is outweighing the polyphenols, then you just completely ruin the whole situation. But I just think that that's one of the things that people use to try to minimize, right, or normalize what they're doing. And it's a huge part of our culture. As a child psychiatrist, I work with a lot of children, not just from the United States, but also internationally. I work with a lot of children from Ukraine, Russia, where alcohol is a huge problem. And what are we treating? We're treating kids with fetal alcohol syndrome. Do you know what that looks like sitting on the other side as the clinician? Like, how do you help a kid who is going to have a lifelong neurodevelopmental condition because of the amount of alcohol they were exposed to in utero? So there's no question that alcohol is super toxic, and the more you use, obviously, the worse the damage. It is, I want to make sure that I say this right when it comes to leading preventable causes of death. Okay, so the leading preventable causes of death, 1, 2, and 3. Tobacco is number 1. Poor diet is number 2. Thank goodness we had the show last week. And alcohol is number 3.
Wow. So I see you, Joyce. Yes, a family member who has a drug, alcohol problem, and I would love her to hear this. Can this program be listened to later? Of course, you can go to thebraintruth.com. All of our shows are there, and you go to YouTube, subscribe, and all of our shows are listed on The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on YouTube. You mentioned something the other day about, Dr. Gettings, about the difference between alcohol addiction and I don't know if I'm getting it right. Alcoholism. There was some distinction. So I want to make sure we're giving the language to our brain jewels correctly. And
well, I was talking about the different terms that are used to describe the level of usage. And so from a diagnostic standpoint, psychiatrists are trained to use the DSM. There are different versions. The most recent one is the DSM-5. In the DSM-4, there is a differentiation between alcohol abuse and alcohol dependency. Now it is all lumped into alcohol use disorder, and you specify if it's mild, moderate, severe. The dependency is where I was saying, I feel that as a community, most people, when you say you have an alcohol problem, they think of people who are dependent, people who not just stop drinking, because as Kayla said, which is super important, alcohol is one of the few substances that you can literally die if you don't have it. So for a lot of people,
are you kidding me?
No, you will go into withdrawals, delirium tremens, and you will die. Okay, so you cannot just, if you have alcohol dependency, just quit drinking. You have to go and get detoxed under medical supervision, typically with intravenous medication, benzos, Ativan, and then transition to oral, and then off. But for people who stigmatize their relatives and say, well, why don't you just stop? There are so many people who want to stop, who have gotten
we all got that drunk uncle at the picnic and the barbecue that been drunk since I was 10, and nobody's telling him to go get help, because we like drunk Uncle Johnny.
Most people identify it as the shakes. Like when people say, oh, they have the shakes. That's the term that we use as a clear physical symptom of a person withdrawing. Because remember when I told you earlier, the alcohol suppresses glutamate, which is an excitatory neurotransmitter. So when the alcohol is wearing off, glutamate is like rebounded times 10. So now you're like irritated, restless, and also withdrawing. So I've seen it myself. I shared with you my story of a colleague who was very close to me, who I would see struggling with withdrawals, knowing he wanted to stop, but he was physically dependent and had not taken that step to go to detox under medical supervision.
I want to bring in our other Brain Gang members because, of course, as we know, our show be going by real fast. And I know Brittany spoke a lot about her spiritual healing. And so I want to bring in Dr. Ivy Hilton, who's also a psychotherapist and a clinician and knows all this stuff too. But she's also our spiritual advisor for The Brain Truth. So Dr. Ivy, come on in here. And then I'm going to be bringing Angie in next. But Dr. Ivy, you've been back there listening, and what, I mean, just to hear Brittany's story and then her to keep repeatedly talk about her spiritual healing.
So I want to thank you, Brittany, for coming on and sharing in this way. This type of exposure and willingness to share your own challenge to people that we can't even see, actually. says that there's a major commitment that you have made for your own healing, and this is very powerful for yourself. And when I think about spirituality and really focused on alcoholism, and alcoholism affects almost all of us in some ways. I've even had it in my own family with my ex-husband, and he thought that it was disrespectful for him not to learn how to drink a certain amount of alcohol. And so we have these cultural beliefs that we need to shift that come from family experience, from environmental experience. So what I was hearing when I heard Dr. Gettings talk about, I think it was someone who was dead on arrival, but you could smell the alcohol coming through the pores. For me, that's a spiritual avenue to start cleansing. Do that intermittent type of cleansing, that self-directed cleansing that literally regenerates at the cellular level. So being able to connect with your personal power, your passion, your purpose. This is a spiritual pathway to healing. A lot of times we know that substance abuse, it can be almost hereditary in a sense. It comes as something that you become predisposed to. If you start to drink and you have a family history of it, you may be in a place where you are compromising yourself. But in doing that, if you're aware of it, spiritually, we have to find that center. We have to use contemplation, meditation, preparation, action, and then a maintenance. And that sounds like where Brittany is right now, is maintaining her healing. So using that self-thought directive of communicating with the soul, I will accept, I will be honest, I am all right, I am okay, I am prepared, I am ready to heal. And we create new neural pathways that tells our soul new information, and this will begin to change our behavior. So yes, there's so many things that we need to do, but from a spiritual perspective, forgiveness, and not just forgiveness of others that have harmed you, but forgiveness for yourself. Because we can be really hard on ourselves, especially when we don't understand the psychology and the medical implications of being addicted to alcohol or any other substance. That we spend time in meditation to reconnect. To reconnect to our higher power. And that is a part of the treatment process, is learning your higher power, whatever you decide to call that. And then finding a sense of belonging, feeling that belongingness. And a lot of times being in treatment, that you receive that because you become a family with those that are in treatment with you. And all of a sudden you feel like you belong there. And so, yes, spirituality is not just, woo, woo, woo. It is actual some work for the brain, for the heart, for the spirit, and for the mind.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
That was beautiful. What do you want to say, Dr. Gettings?
I was thinking that was so spot on. And I just appreciate Brittany for, again, really highlighting that part of her healing as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a part that's oftentimes missed or just not highlighted in the way it needs to be. And
exactly. Now, Kayla, at Rosecrans, you guys incorporate some of the spiritual meditation, you do all of that there. So you guys agree that is part of good treatment.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And at Rosecrans, some people prefer, the anonymous groups, right? Alcoholics Anonymous, things of that nature. But we strongly support anything, whether that's a church Bible study, refuge recovery, celebrate recovery. Like there's so many that we're not like, you have to do this, but we're like, okay, I don't care what your higher power is. It could be the doorknob. There's got to be something greater than yourself that is keeping you in this space of groundedness, right? And things like that. So yes, we're a huge it's huge in our program. It's
That's
rooted in 12
awesome.
steps to a degree, but again, we promote support and allow any of those things to be part of their recovery process.
That is awesome. I looked you guys, I follow you because I can't, since Dr. Gettings brought you up to the whole group, we applaud you on what you guys are doing. And I just pray that we can continue to do some things together. I want to go ahead and bring Angie, and we're going to round off our show this evening. This is Angie, one of our Super Brain Gang members. And where are you here, Angie? There you are. Hi, Angie.
Hi, how is everybody?
Yeah, so you've been listening. What is your take? Because you had your own walk with some heavy stuff in your life. So what do you want to speak to Kayla? You want to say anything to Brittany before we round it off?
Well, first of all, I know Brittany personally, so
you do? Okay.
I know Brittany.
Awesome.
I love Brittany, and she is the kindest, sweetest human on planet Earth. She is there for everybody. She has the biggest heart. She is the most incredible person. I have had so many conversations with Brittany that I feel like she's my daughter. She's my sister. She's a relative of mine because she truly is incredible on so many levels. But not only that, I don't think she's beautiful from the inside out. And I don't think she realizes how incredible she actually is. But we were part of a boxing group together. And Brittany was like the leader of everybody and always Miss Positive, cheering everybody on, always giving everybody a high five. She was the person that everybody, I promise you, came to see because she just lights up the room and makes everybody feel so incredible and brings out the best in each and every person. So Brittany, I love you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. You're incredible. And her journey, I think her journey and her struggles have created this amazing human that she is today sitting here. I know her and she just wants to give back and help everyone. She really has the biggest heart ever. And isn't that what the world is all about? Helping each other. What goes around comes around. We need to pay everything forward. So anyways, I'm on the Brittany soapbox right now.
I agree. I believe like Brittany. She's incredible. I believe that God chooses the strongest of us.
I agree
to take
completely.
Us,
right.
Yeah, and use us like you told us your story the first time you came on before you became a Brain Gang, Angie, and
and our struggles.
God uses us for these major assignments. Absolutely. And when we are called to the assignment, right? And we are obedient to it.
Yes.
It's endless. It's endless. And it is why we are, because somebody's listening, somebody in your life, you're making an impact. I know, Kayla, you're doing it every day. And we applaud the work that Rosecrans is doing as well. So let's round this off. We can start with you, Angie. Let's get the last word. Give us something on the Brain Buffet, honey.
Oh my gosh, I forgot I was here for the Brain Buffet.
Let's get to the Brain Buffet, Chris.
My Brain Buffet tip of the day, since we've been talking about alcohol consumption, overconsumption of alcohol is not good for your liver. So my Brain Buffet tip of the day is to take milk thistle, which is an herb, and you can get it in pill form, and you can get it you can make it into a tea. You can basically get it anywhere on planet Earth at any grocery store. You can get it anywhere. And if you were to take this daily, you can take it once daily, twice daily, 3 times daily, just depending on how much you need to detox your liver. But the overconsumption of so many different things, alcohol being one of them, is milk thistle is a great tool to have in your toolbox to help combat that. Yep, that's my
Thank you, Angie. I've heard of that. I'm gonna go get some of that milk thistle.
Really good. Yep.
Dr. Ivy, what you got today for the brain balance? I want to know.
So for the brain balance, I am going to encourage everybody to go into deep levels of meditation, close your eyes, and just simply move your eyes from the left to the right, to the left, to the right. And not only are you exercising your eyes, but you are instructing the brain to integrate left and right brain combinations so that you can begin to find that balance in your heart and in your mind. Meditate, exercise your eyes, sockets back and forth, and integrate left and right brain functioning.
Thank you, Dr. Ivy. Dr. Gettings, what you got for the brain biology? What are we leaving today?
Yes. So for the brain biology, just remember that alcohol impacts all organ systems. And remember that if you are someone who knows that things have gotten beyond your control when it comes to using alcohol, do not let stigma and shame prevent you from seeking help. I can't say enough about Rosecrans as a clinician, and having resources in the community where people can go and not be judged harshly and be able to pursue help. And that's my message for today. Protect your brain, save your brain. You only get one. And yeah, brain love.
Thank you, Dr. Gettings. And Kayla McInnes, you have some words for our Brangels before you leave tonight, and let us know what we can leave with.
Absolutely. It's never too late to call and ask for help, whether it's for yourself or someone else. We're available 24/7. So just know that we care, we're here, we're supportive, and we're ready to assist you when needed. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kayla. And if you want to get in touch with Kayla, or if you want to know more about the work, the incredible work that Rosecrans is doing, you can reach her at Rosecrans Recovery. Kayla McInnes is the Community Relationship Coordinator. That number is 815-985-5617, 815-985-5617. That's Rosecrans Recovery. And Brittany, you get the last word, honey. What do you want to leave with our Brangels? Get her front and center, y'all.
Hi, everyone. I guess remain honest, open-minded, and willing to the opportunities that recovery can have for an individual, and to let love, patience, and tolerance be your code.
Thank you, Brittany. And I want to once again thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I appreciate you. There's Brittany. How do we get in touch? There's Brittany. Thank you for being here. We love you. Come back. I like to make everybody a brain gang. Come back and be an advocate. Be an advocate for some of the people and some of our Brangels that need people like you that are willing to be brave enough to tell your story. And so I just want to thank you for being here. So you guys, I mean, every time we have these shows, they go by really, really fast. So Dr. Gettings, we're going to come on here. We're going to talk about what's coming up. Are you there, Dr. Gettings? On Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. That's sort of like our Christmas for people in the mental health space. So the mental health awareness, that's like, we're excited. I meant to ask Kayla, like, what's going on? I know they were probably going to be doing a lot of stuff. A lot of people who are in this industry are gearing up. I know us at NAMI, we have, like I said, this big event coming up May 14th at Brenham Township. You guys can hit us up at NAMI South Suburbs, Chicago at Gmail. And we've got some fun stuff. So let's talk about our calendar coming up in May, Dr. Gettings.
Yes. So in May, we really want to highlight some really important topics. We're so thankful for our listeners. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a review of how all of this started. So May 3rd, we are going to do a back to the beginning debut of the first episode where you will get a recap of Allison's journey through mental wellness. And then we're going to talk about a super important topic on May 10th, right after Mother's Day. I personally, as a psychiatrist, think it's super important that we understand how hormones affect our brain health. So we're going to cover menses, motherhood, menopause, and mental health. Okay, we're going to.
That's so fun! I can't wait for that one.
About estrogen on that night.
Okay.
We also have our heartbreak or brain break. We've all been through it where we have had a breakup and we real sick. Okay, so we want to understand how does that break as far as our heart have an impact on our brain. If I'm saying that correctly, it's the brain-heart connection, y'all. Sorry, I messed that up. Next, we're going to have mood disorders and suicide. We updated this, so we're going to be talking about bipolar, depression, and educate everyone about suicide and suicide risk. And then lastly, we're going to have social anxiety, the social butterfly. One of the major anxiety diagnoses that we treat as mental health professionals is social anxiety. So we want to make sure that we educate everyone about what social anxiety is, how it impacts lifestyle, daily life habits, and how to overcome that anxiety that's triggered when you walk in the room and you like, what are they thinking about?
That's me.
What are they thinking about me?
and I want people to know, because I'm so tired of people saying, but you're so sociable. How do you have social anxiety? I'm like, girl, we got to do a whole show so you can know what that means.
Yeah,
I have social anxiety.
We are going to dive deep into social anxiety. So we have a packed schedule for May, and we want you all to make sure you show up, participate, get your questions ready, and learn. That's what we're here for. We're here to educate our community.
Yay! Thank you, Dr. Gettys, and thank you, Dr. Ivy and Angie, the Brain Gang, and all of our guests. This has been a great show. And so I will see you not next week, because it's going to be a review of my first episode, but the week after, during the wonderful month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay, let's ready ourselves for the Brain Bliss. Let's take a deep breath. And remind yourself, I am a peaceful soul. I am a pure soul. I am capable. I desire to heal. And the power is right here within me. I am open to being authentic. I am open to letting go. Letting go of ego, anger, and attachment. I am forgiveness. I am okay. I desire mental, physical, and emotional awareness. I desire clarity, calm, and pure mindfulness. I am okay. I will receive love and give love freely. I am open to a deeper connection to Source. I am love. I am love. Thank you, Brangels. And remember, repair, reclaim, renew. And that's the brain truth. See you the week after next, but see you next week for the debut.
Vibrations of love. And some say love is a verb. But much deeper than that, love is a vibration. It is that energy that stirs the soul and opens up the heart. Vibrations of love call out to the divine that connects us with the beauty of life and the oneness of it all. I need not to say it with words, although it is always nice to hear. But greater still is to feel it. Vibrations of love lift me higher, and I fill the empty spaces within the soul. It is the divine in its purest essence. It is me at the height of my being. I am vibrations of love.